Welcome to Collage of Health. Thanks for being here today. I just want to talk a little bit about what we call Vata vitiation in Ayurveda from an Ayurvedic perspective. So Ayurveda is life science or the science of life. And it is looking at us not only from a microcosm perspective, but also from a macrocosm and how we interact with life, how we interact with other people, how we interact with nature, with the seasons, the climate, with our age, how the age changes. So we all are varying degrees of five elements: ether, the Akash, air, fire, water, or earth. And some of us have varying degrees versus others of us. So, for example, someone might have a predominance of Vata, which is either air, and maybe Kapha, which is water and earth. Another person could be predominantly Pitta. And when I speak of these doshas and these elements, I'm speaking of a constitutional baseline where we're in balance, even though we have more or less of these elements. In other words, someone who's Vata, who's highly creative and they're enthusiastic and they just bring a lot of life to the party because they have news every time you see them that's fresh. That would be a Vata person in their element, so to speak. A Pitta person in their element is going to be the person who ran the race. They got a first place medal because they worked really, really hard. They were very, very disciplined to get that medal. And then your Kapha person is going to be the person at the party who's going to have stayed after the party, let's say, and helped you clean up because they're not in a rush. They're steady. They might get there slowly to the party and they're going to leave slowly to the party. So they're going to be the reliable one. If they say they're coming at 4 o'clock, they're probably going to be reliable and they're probably not going to jump up and talk to every single person in the room. They're going to sit, they're going to be steady, they're going to be stira, they're going to sit in that chair and they're going to be listening to you and they might be, compassionate. They might have that warm, compassionate, maternal self showing up at the party, whereas the Vata person might be the person entertaining with stories. They might be the storyteller. And the Pitta person is going to be the person having the party. They're going to be the person who's going to be making it happen, okay? Because they're the transformers. So we have various degrees of each of these. We could have two of these mostly, or one of these mostly, or all three of these. So we're going to have a combination. But during our life, we can get imbalanced with any one of these doshas. So this is Vata season right now. And what I mean by that is we're more likely to get off or vitiated with our Vata, regardless of how much Vata we have normally going on, ether air, during this time of year. And especially at this time of year when we're in a tumultuous time period with an election, there's changes. Vata, excuse me, is about change. It's about irregularity naturally. But then you add these wild cards in there of contentious election changes, astrological changes with the planetary systems. If you live in Asheville, there's changes that have happened post-hurricane. So even if none of that's going on, the fall is a time which is called like a Sunday time, a time of change. There's a change of seasons going on. So anybody's Vata is going to be more likely to be thrown off. So today's video is just to talk about how we can nourish our Vata energy and bring it back in balance based on our Prakriti. So our Prakriti might be not that much Vata, but we still can be Vata imbalanced. That person at the party who's sitting there could be lonely, or they could be uncertain or fearful, or they could be feeling lightheaded and just airy, just out of their element, not out of their earth element. That pitta person could be traveling a ton and um, miss an appointment, where they're the type of people who never miss an appointment. They always are there. So it's even more impactful for them. And the Vata person who already is irregular, a little unpredictable, this season can be especially vitiating. So let's just talk a little bit about really simple things that you can do to bring your Vata in balance right now at this time of uncertainty in our world. One of the things that you can do is you can use oil. So there's something called Abhyanga, which is basically giving yourself this oil massage, heating the oil up in a double boiler, like a sesame oil that you can purchase. They actually make these kinds of massage oil called sesame oil, and you can start at your limbs and with this heated oil, making sure your room is warm, and take the oil from the extremities towards the center of the body. Now, many of us don't have time to do Abhyanga on a regular basis. And with Vata, regularity again is key. So one of the things that you could do is just, and this might not be too difficult, is just heat a little bit of oil up at night and then just bring it in the bedroom with you, and then have a pair of old socks nearby and just put a little oil, warm oil on your feet. Or if you don't have time to heat up the oil, just put a little bit of sesame oil on your feet and put these old socks on. That's a big way to nourish the dryness of Vata. So Vata naturally is cold and dry, and that oil on your feet could help you sleep better, especially in the middle of the night, which is a time when people with Vata constitutions or Vata imbalances tend to wake up. They're notorious for waking up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Another thing that you can do is start a schedule. And I know for people who are Vata people, Vata predominant people, schedules are difficult. So maybe even just notice what's going on in your life and what is your natural schedule? What do you naturally do every day at a certain time? So maybe you take guitar lessons or you practiced guitar every day at 2 o'clock. Well, you're going to want to start your schedule there and then just work out what is manageable from there. But just start with a few things that you do on a regular basis and then build the schedule from there. The more we can be scheduled, the more we can bring our Vata energy in balanced. Another thing that you can do is not drink cold drinks. In Ayurveda, they never recommend that you drink cold drinks, but especially at this time of year and into the winter when Vata is high, cold is a problem for many of us. You want to make sure that you have at least room temperature drinks or warm drinks. There's something called cumin, coriander, and fennel tea, which you can buy through Banyan Botanical. They have, I'll put it in the link, the CCFT. Or if you have some cumin seeds, coriander seeds, and fennel seeds, you can just put them in a little tea holder and just brew some water and have that before or after a meal, especially before a meal, warming up the insides, maybe cultivating the appetite, kindling what we call the Agni or the fire that needs to get going, can be a really nice thing to do when you're cold or when you feel like you've traveled and you're off. You're off your schedule and you're in a state more of uncertainty and confusion, airheadedness. Maybe you're more fearful than usual or feeling more lonely. These kinds of nourishing things are things that you can do to kind of help bring that Vata down. The warm tea, that not drinking cold drinks, setting a schedule based on things that you do every day where you can build from there, and having some oil, warm oil that you put on your body, let it sit, and then shower, or just put it on your feet at night. If you are going to do the Abhyanga, the whole full Abhyanga, it is somewhat of a process to do it right, and there are some contraindications. So I'm just going to put something in there, a little video about Abhyanga, because it's just a wonderful thing if you decide to do it. Another thing that you can do that'll help bring the Vata down is to eat at regular times and to have your food cooked and fresh. So in Ayurveda, frozen foods and foods that are old, more than 24 hours old, are not ideal foods. They don't have what we call prana or life, the way a food would if it's fresh. So eating fresh foods, not eating leftovers or frozen foods, is ideal to bring all the doshas down, especially Vata. Another thing is to cook the foods. So spiced, warm foods, like if you're going to have apple, maybe cut it up and have it with a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of ghee, clarified butter. And that's going to be unctuous. It's going to help the dryness. It's going to be warming. That'll be actually better for you during the Vata season than having a raw apple. Let's see, what other things did I want to say? Eating when you're hungry is going to be super important. So if you're not hungry, have some CCFT. Maybe that'll help cultivate your appetite. Or just have something that, like a little ginger, what we call ginger pickle, which is warming. So you can take a little bit of ginger, you can peel it, you can put a little bit of lime on it with a pinch of salt, and then just eat it a half hour before your meal. So if 45 minutes before your meal you're not hungry, have what we call ginger pickle. And you can make a couple of, servings of this and put it in the refrigerator and let it sit for up to 24 hours. You could have it the next day. That'd be fine. Another thing to do to bring your Vata down is to try not to be on your phone a lot, especially when you're eating or when you're getting ready for bed. So make sure when you're going to eat your food, you really lay out a nice spread. You put things away. You don't have a whole bunch of things out and going on, so that you can really concentrate on your food. And you're not walking around eating, you're not rushing. You just allow yourself to eat. You allow yourself to sit for a few minutes afterwards. Maybe you have the ginger tea that helps you digest the food or helps kindle the agni before you start eating. And you could just sip that slowly while you're eating. At night, you want to put your phone away. You want to turn things off a good 45 minutes before you get to bed, and just try to do activities in the bedroom that are calming and soothing, rather than agitating, where a news reel might have something on there that agitates you and makes it harder for you to stay asleep or to go to sleep. Let's see, what other things? So you don't want to overeat. So I know for me, when I feel like my vata is off, sometimes I eat sugar to try to bring my energy down. But then what happens is I go from a vata imbalance to a kapha imbalance. I become almost like tamasic, like um, heavy and groggy. So I've got the vata imbalance going on that's masked by the kapha imbalance. So it's really important to not overeat or not to get on like a sugar kick where it's just like fast energy, where it exacerbates the up and down cycle that it already exists with Vata. I think that that's pretty much all that I wanted to say in today's video. If you do travel, just recognize that traveling is very Vata vitiating. So I know we're coming up to the holidays, and a lot of people are going out of town. So doing these kind of tips, especially with your travel schedule, is going to really help to soothe the Vata so that it doesn't get too off or doesn't get off, depending on, how sensitive you are. Some people are super sensitive to getting off with their constitution, especially people who are already predominantly Vata, but other people maybe less so. So you're going to travel. Try to set up a schedule as much as you can for when you're away. Try not to eat a lot of refined sugar, or overeat, or eat too fast, or talk when you eat. Try to make sure that your food is cooked. You're not drinking cold drinks. You're kindling the Agni, or the fire in the body, to warm you before and after meals. You could have ginger tea after meals. You can have like a ginger pickle before a meal, or sip some ginger tea throughout and afterwards. You could get some CCF tea. You can oil your body when you're traveling. You could bring a little thing of oil and, just put some on your feet at night. Give yourself a foot massage, put some socks on. Make sure you're warm. Try not to allow yourself to get super cold. If you're like me and you're cold frequently, make sure you wear like socks in the house and slippers and sweaters and things of that nature. So hopefully this video was helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, if you want to share this, much appreciated. Thank you.